like it's that time of year. Let's talk about the WWE Future Endeavor releases that just happened. Because honestly, I'm scratching my head at some of these, you know, and just doesn't make sense. So, let's start at the top. Duke Hudson, because I believe he was the first one that was announced that got released. To that one, some people were shocked and surprised at it. I mean, I didn't really have no feelings towards that one because, in storyline on NXT, Chase U just disbanded. I mean, I don't think no one deserves to get released, but it happened, and for some people, it was off guard. Now, let's move on. AOP, the Authors of Pain, with Paul Ellering. Now, this happened for the second time, I believe. And at this point, when someone shows you how they feel about you, you gotta believe them, right? This might have been the second time for them, maybe even the third, but it's it's crazy. So, and this one to me just doesn't make sense only because for me on Raw, the tag team division is abysmal. On SmackDown, they got 5 to 6 teams, in a storyline, and it has continuity, and I'm really enjoying what they're doing with the tag division on SmackDown. But over on Raw, like what is going on? There's no contenders. When Judgment Day had them, they just held the titles, not really defending them, and now the Viking Raiders have them, and it's like there is no division. And to me, that's when AOP comes in. Because come on now, tell me if AOP versus the Viking Raiders trading the titles back and forth, having banger big man matches doesn't, you know, excite you. Because to me, that makes sense. You're literally releasing tag teams that could have made your tag division better. Let's move on to the next tag team, the Good Brothers, who to me, some people might not like them, but I think they're a solid tag team act. They held the IWGP tag titles a couple times over in New Japan. They held the tag titles in TNA. I don't think they had the tag titles at AEW. Um, but I feel like again they could have been on Raw. Flush out that tag division. Why are you releasing tag teams that could make your tag division more broader? Like, come on now. Why? It doesn't make sense. So I can see them either going back to New Japan or TNA, whatever the case may be. But I believe before they was released, they were on NXT. I guess just putting over the younger talent. But man, like them on Raw along with AOP, and that would have made your tag team division better. Cedric Alexander. Now, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP been left a long time ago. Many people saw this one coming, just because you know they haven't really done anything with Cedric Alexander in a long time. You know, and he was on NXT, kind of shadowing. Man, what's his name? What's his name? The young OG. Um, so this one doesn't really come as a surprise to anyone. I can see him, doing some work with Fourth Rope Wrestling as MVP is a commissioner over there. Also, I can see him going over to AEW and joining the Hurt Syndicate, seeing as they haven't added anyone to that group over in AEW just yet. Many of us thought it might have been Ricochet, but hey, why not just add Cedric over there and continue on what they've done great in WWE the first time. I could also see him like doing stuff in Ring of Honor, stuff like that. So I could see Cedric Alexander doing good stuff outside of WWE with the people he previously worked with. So Cedric, I believe, is in good hands. On the note of Fourth Rope Wrestling, just a side note, recently checked it out. I like the presentation and things they got going on over there, merging hip hop with wrestling. I think it's a good look. Moving on, Sonya Deville. Mm, Sonya Deville. She haven't really clicked on screen, if at all. Maybe back like in the, Black and Gold NXT, she had some upside things like that. In ring wise, they haven't really ever used her correctly. She was like a on screen like general manager type character. Came back and was put into a trio type thing with Shayna and Zoe Stark. At first, I thought she might have been a manager, which she was kind of at first, but then they ended up being like a trio. I mean, they had some type of upside. You could have used them, as like a unit, a faction in the women's division, which they don't really ever have those in the women's division. But once again, just not used right. Like I don't know if they ever really had a plan for her or them or any of them. I believe Zoe Stark have a great upside. I love her in ring work. Shayna, like ever since she came to the main roster, man, between Vince didn't not using her right, Triple H, who we all thought, okay, she was, a Triple H girl. He's not using her right, which is weird. You know, I don't know. Shayna might be next. Who knows? Not saying that's what I want to happen, but honestly, it's the main roster in WWE as a whole is bloated. A lot of people like to complain and talk crap about AEW's roster being bloated. Oh, there's too many titles over there. But if you look at WWE, my God, it is bloated, and they definitely have too many titles. You know, so much so they introduced two new women's singles titles that aren't being used. Why aren't PFC? They could have been chasing that title. You have your Intercontinental Champion still fighting for world titles, and there's no division around that title. It's a mess. Honestly, it's a mess. That's not what the Intercontinental title should be. And you could have had each member of PFC taking chances at the Intercontinental title. I mean, they previously was feuding with like Lyra and all of them anyway. Once again, just a cluster. Blair Davenport, man, another one that just like was like what? Like it's just I don't know. You bring her to the main roster and you literally don't do nothing with her. A lot of people complained in the past that Vince just brought in the Vince era. People just came up from NXT, but it's continuing with Triple H. You have call ups. I'm doing the quotes, the air quotes. You have call ups, and you just don't do like why they don't have a plan for these people. A 3 month, 6 month, maybe a year plan. If not, why are you calling people up? In this era, NXT is like your third brand. So why are they still doing call ups anyway? People should just move laterally between brands if that's the case. People can move from like SmackDown to NXT. We see Bayley doing some stuff on NXT. And then some NXT people can come over like the Raw or SmackDown. Why are they still doing call ups? It just doesn't make sense. And this Blair Davenport call up did not make sense at all. I don't even remember what she deliberately did at all. And then she just was off TV and now she's released. She's made comments basically saying she'll go back to like Stardom or Japan. So I could definitely see her doing that. Maybe we see her in AEW. Who knows? That's definitely a possibility. Isla Dawn by herself getting released. That's weird. Saying they just was tag team champions. And to just release her, it's like, oh, weird. That's weird. She was in a tag team. So Alba Fire, is she's going to be next? Or are they just going to transition her into a singles competitor? Are they going to put her back on NXT? It's stuff like this that just doesn't make sense. Honestly, once again, either you should have kept them as a tag team because your women's tag division, you just broke up a part of that, which historically in WWE, the women's tag titles has it been an abysmal title. Right now, Bianca and Naomi are tag champs, but yet they're in the Royal Rumble. They're competing for world championships. Kind of the same thing Naomi left for in the first place when her and Sasha was tag champs. But they wanted her to feud with Sasha, and they wanted both of them to go out the world titles. It doesn't make sense. They're literally doing the same thing with Naomi that she left for in the first place. You know, we applaud Triple H for certain things, but we also got to get on his head for things as well, because some of his booking decisions and some of these releases and some in these things just doesn't make sense. It's like you have these titles, you have these championships, people want to champion around the women's division, but you're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and it doesn't make sense. Giovanni Vinci, another guy that was released on his round, broke him broke him up from his former group, put him on SmackDown, had vignettes as a changing character, kind of, going with this whole Italian theme and this rich boy theme, all for him to lose in a squash match to Apollo Crews. Now, that didn't offend me. That didn't, confuse me. I thought, okay, maybe this is, a little thing, you know, a part of the character, a part of the story. And then they did that, and I don't believe they did anything after that. And he's just been off TV. And it's just like, why? Electra Lopez, another women's competitor that was just playing in the background. She literally did nothing for Legata del Fantasma. Like literally nothing on the main roster. She just literally played the background. Maybe she said a couple words here and there, but she did nothing. It, man, another women's competitor who could have been doing something in the United States division, who could have maybe been in the tag division. But nope, she was a manager to play the background and had just nothing. Man, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. This round of cuts, a lot of these just don't make sense. I heard they were trying to clear up some spots for people that's going to be called up, and it's like, okay, so you're just going to release people to call other people up, and I hope they have something for these people that they plan on calling up. Roxanne Perez, they look to be very high on her, so you know, with that call up, quote unquote again, um, I'm not worried about that. She's easily going to be slotted into the world title division on either brand. Similar to a Tiffany Stratton, we seen how she got caught up and was just right in the action. Now she's the WWE Women's Champion. I can see the same thing for like a Roxanne Perez in the future, becoming world champion or doing something great on the main roster. That's like two of their current day four horsewomen, along with Cora Jade and Lyra Valkyria, who's your Intercontinental Champion. Who they, man, like I said, it seems like they don't have any plans for her, which is weird, you know. Um, and then you just had 3 releases from the other company, All Elite Wrestling, who we could see WWE picking those guys up, but you just released so many other people. Um, and I'll have a separate video for that, and where I think those guys could be slotted in on main roster, NXT, etc. So stay tuned for the next one. I love wrestling.